So we are reading the story How Fear Came from the Jungle Books. There is a drought in the jungle, and Hati the elephant has declared the water truce. So all of the animals are drinking together at the same pool, even though they're very hungry, and Bagheera wants to eat a bunch of them. And Mowgli's making jokes, talking about what Baloo would look like without any fur. And now Bagheera is going to respond. "Worse and worse," said the Black Panther, as the boy rose sputtering. "First Baloo is to be skinned, and now he is a coconut. Be careful that he does not do what the ripe coconuts do." "And what is that?" said Mowgli, off his guard for the minute, though that is one of the oldest catches of the jungle. In the jungle. "Break thy head," said Bagheera quietly, pulling him under again. "It is not good to make jest of thy teacher," said the bear, when Mowgli had been ducked for a third time. "Not good? What would ye have? The naked thing running to and fro makes a monkey jest of those who have once been good hunters." Okay, this is Shere Khan. "Not good. What would ye have? That naked thing running to and fro makes a monkey jest of those who have once been good hunters and pulls the best of us by the whiskers for sport." This was Shere Khan, the lame tiger, limping down to the water. He waited a little to enjoy the sensation he made among the deer on the opposite banks. Then he dropped his square frilled head and began to lap, growling. "The jungle has become a whelping ground for naked cubs now. Look at me, man-cub." Mowgli looked, stared rather, as insolently as he knew how, and in a minute Shere Khan turned away uneasily. "Man-cub this, man-cub that." Oh, this is, sorry, still Shere Khan. "Man-cub this and man-cub that," he grumbled, going on with his drink. "The cub is neither man nor cub. He would have been afraid. Next season I shall have to beg his leave for a drink. Agh!" "That may come too," said Bagheera, looking him steadily between the eyes. "That may come too. Faugh, Shere Khan! What new shame hast thou brought here?" The lame tiger had dipped his chin and jowl in the water. The dark, oily streaks were floating from it downstream. "Man," said Shere Khan coyly, "I killed an hour since." He went on purring and growling to himself. The line of beasts shook and waved to and fro, and a whisper went up that grew to a cry. "Man! Man! He has killed Man!" And they all looked toward Hati, the wild elephant, but he seemed not to hear. Hati never does anything till the time comes, and that is one of the reasons why he lives so long. "At such a season as this, to kill Man was no other game afoot," said Bagheera scornfully, drawing himself out of the tainted water and shaking each paw cat-fashion as he did. "I killed for choice, not for food," the horrified whisper began again, and Hati's watchful little white eye cocked itself in Shere Khan's direction. "For choice," Shere Khan drawled. "Now come I to drink, and make me clean again. Is there any to forbid?" Bagheera's back began to curve like a bamboo in a high wind, but Hati lifted up his trunk and spoke quietly. "Thy kill was from choice?" he asked. When Hati asks a question, it is best to answer. "Even so. It was my right and my night, thou knowest, O Hati." Shere Khan spoke almost courteously. "Yes, I know," Hati answered, and after a little silence, "Hast thou drunk thy fill?" "For tonight, yes." "Go then. The river is to drink, and not to defile. None but the lame tiger would have boasted of his right at this season, when we suffer together, man and jungle people alike, clean and unclean. Get to thy lair, Shere Khan." The last words rang out like silver trumpets, and Hati's 3 sons rolled forward half a pace. Though there was no need, Shere Khan slunk away, not daring to growl, for he knew what everyone else knows, that when the last comes to the last, Hati is master of the jungle. "What is this right Shere Khan speaks of?" Mowgli whispered in Bagheera's ear. "To kill any man is always shameful. The law says so, and yet Hati says, "Ask him, I do not know, little brother, right or no right. If Hati had not spoken, I would have taught that lame butcher a lesson. To come to the Peace Rock fresh from a kill of man, and to boast of it, is a jackal's trick. Besides, he tainted the good water." Mowgli waited for a minute to pick up his courage, because no one cared to address Hati directly, and then he cried, "What is Shere Khan's right, O Hati?" Both banks echoed his words, for all the people of the jungle are intensely curious, and they had just seen something that none except Baloo, who looked very thoughtful, seemed to understand. "It is an old tale," said Hati, "a tale older than the jungle. Keep silence along the banks, and I will tell that tale." There was a minute or two of pushing and shouldering along among the pigs and the buffalo, and then the leaders of the herds grunted one after another. "We wait." And Hati strode forward till he was nearly knee-deep in the pool by the Peace Rock. Lean and wrinkled and yellow-tusked though he was, he looked what the jungle knew him to be, their master. "Know ye, children," he began, "that of all the things ye fear worst, man," and there was a mutter of agreement. "This tale touches thee, little brother," said Bagheera to Mowgli. "I am of the pack, a hunter of the free people," Mowgli answered. "What have I to do with man?" "And ye do not know why you fear man," Hati went on. "This is the reason. In the beginning of the jungle, and none knew when that was, we of the jungle walked together, having no fear of one another. In those days there was no drought, and the leaves and flowers and fruit grew in the same tree, and we ate nothing at all except the leaves and flowers and grass and fruit and bark." "I am glad I was not born in those days," said Bagheera. "Bark is only good to sharpen claws." "And the lord of the jungle was Tha, the first of the elephants. He drew the jungle out of the deep waters with his trunk, and where he made the furrows in the ground with his tusks, there the rivers ran, and where he struck with his foot, there rose ponds of good water, and when he blew through his trunk thus, the trees fell. That was the manner in which the jungle was made by Tha, and so the tale was told to me." "It has not lost fat in the telling," Bagheera whispered, and Mowgli laughed behind his hand. "In those days there was no corn or melons or pepper or sugar cane, nor were there any little huts such as ye have seen, and the jungle people knew nothing of man, but lived in the jungle together, making one people. But presently they began to dispute over their food. Though there was grazing enough for all, they were lazy. Each wished to eat where he lay, and sometimes we can do now, when the spring rains are good. Tha, the first of the elephants, was busy making new jungles, and leading the rivers to their beds. He could not walk in all places. Therefore he made the first of the tigers, the master and the judge of the jungle, to whom the jungle people should bring their disputes. In those days the first of the tigers ate fruit and grass with the others. He was as large as I am, and he was very beautiful, in color all over like the blossom of a yellow creeper. There was never stripe nor bar upon his hide in those good days when this jungle was new. All the jungle people came before him without fear, and his word was the law of the jungle. We were then, remember ye, one people. Yet upon a night there was a dispute between two bucks, a grazing quarrel such as ye now settle with the horns and the forefeet. And it is said that as the two spoke together before the first of the tigers, lying among the flowers, a buck pushed him with his horns, and the first of the tigers forgot that he was to be master and judge of the jungle, and leaping upon the buck, broke his neck. Till that night never one of us had died, and the first of the tigers, seeing what he had done, and being made foolish by the scent of the blood, ran away into the marshes of the north, and we of the jungle, left without a judge, fell fighting among ourselves, and Tha heard the noise of it and came back. And some of us said this, and some of us said that, but he saw the dead buck among the flowers and asked who had killed, and we of the jungle would not tell, because the smell of the blood made us foolish. We ran to and fro in circles, carping and capering and crying out and shaking our heads. Then Thaw gave an order to the trees that hang low, and to the trailing creepers of the jungle, that they should mark the killer of the buck, so that he should know him again. And he said, "Who will now be master of the jungle people?" Then up leaped the gray ape who lives in the branches and said, "I will now be master of the jungle." At this Thaw laughed and said, "So be it," and went away very, very angry. Children, ye know the gray ape, and he was then as he is now. At the first he made a wise face for himself, but in a little while he began to scratch and to leap up and down, and when Thaw came back he found the gray ape hanging head down from a bough, mocking those who stood below, and they mocked him again. And so there was no law in the jungle, only foolish talk and senseless words. Then Thaw called us all together and said, "The first of your masters has brought death into the jungle, and the second shame. Now it is time there was a law, and a law that ye must not break. Now ye shall know fear, and when you have found him ye shall know that he is your master, and when the rest shall follow." Then we of the jungle said, "What is fear?" And Thaw said, "Seek till ye find." And he went up and down the jungle. So we went up and down the jungle, seeking for fear, and presently the buffaloes... "Ugh," said Mysa, the leader of the buffaloes, from the sandbank. "Yes, Mysa, it was the buffaloes. They came back with the news that in a cave in the jungle sat Fear, and that he had no hair, and went upon his hind legs. Then we of the jungle followed the herd till we came to that cave. Fear stood at the mouth of it, and he was, as the buffaloes had said, hairless, and he walked upon his hinder legs. When he saw us, he cried out. His voice filled us with the fear that we have now of that voice when we hear it. And we ran away, tramping upon and tearing each other because we were afraid. That night, so it was told to me, we of the jungle did not lie down together as used to be our custom, but each tribe drew off by itself, the pig with the pig, the deer with the deer, horn to horn, hoof to hoof, like keeping to like, and so lay shaking in the jungle. Only the first of the tigers was not with us. When word went out to him of the thing we had seen in the cave, he said, "I will go to this thing and break its neck." So he ran all the night till he came to the cave, but the trees and the creepers on his path, remembering the order that Thaw had given, let down their branches and marked him as he ran, drawing their fingers across his back, his flank, his forehead, and his jowl. Whenever they touched him, there was a mark and a stripe upon his yellow hide, and those stripes do his children wear to this day. When he came to the cave, Fear, the hairless one, put out his hand and called him the striped one that comes by night. And the first of the tigers was afraid of the hairless one, and ran back to the swamps, howling. Mowgli chuckled quietly here, his chin in the water. And we will pause there.